What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of RAVE Review, a series for perfect songs and perfect albums. My name is Zero, and in today's episode of RAVE Review, I'm going to be talking about the fifth, newest, and shortest studio album by Nate the Space God, called Floating on Summer Lane, which is being released tomorrow. I got a review copy, bitch. Okay. This album is the very quick follow-up to his fourth studio album, Her Name Was Argira, which was released this year and was an album which I did like, but I thought it was Nate's weakest album to date for many reasons. Reasons that you can listen to yourself by going back and watching my review of that album after you watch this one, which will be in the description. So as I was saying before, yes, this album is Nate's shortest studio album to date. It's only 6 tracks. However, it certainly does have a lot to deliver in its very short 16-minute and 21-second runtime. We're given a much more cohesive sound on this record than in Argira. What I mean by that is that Argira was very experimental and unique, but to the point where a lot of the songs didn't feel like they belonged on the album. However, on this new record, Floating on Summer Lane, we're given much more cohesive experimentation, which makes these songs feel like they belong on the album. Nate stays roughly in the pop rap / jazz rap spectrum of hip-hop like he did with the last album, but on this new record, it feels much more like something he's never tried before, and it feels more unique and cohesive without making these songs feel like they don't belong on the album. And with this record, I can tell that Nate has taken a lot of inspiration from rappers such as Mac Miller, especially with albums like The Divine Feminine and Circles, and even taking inspiration from Mac's jazzier and bluesier side, or even Tyler the Creator with albums like Igor, and taking inspiration from the poppier alternative side of Tyler. But he does it really well without copying them or ripping them off. This album feels much more like an inspiration overdose rather than an unoriginality overdose, and Nate is definitely staying true to his inspirations and roots once again, rather than trying to be something completely new and ultimately not doing a great job at it, like what happened with Argira. The first track, Float, features an incredibly powerful and heavily raw instrumentalized jazz rap beat, which beautifully backs up Nate's vocals that sound way crispier and smoother than in his early work. Both of those things make this track feel like it was recorded in an actual professional studio with a huge production team and everything. The message that I got out of this song is something that shouldn't be ignored too. From what I can tell, it sounds like Nate is talking about memories that he's had on Summer Lane, which is obviously a metaphor for a very important time or place in his life, and he's reflecting back on it. And the reason he calls it Summer Lane is because summer is usually a perfect season that looks and feels beautiful, so it essentially feels like Nate is going back to Summer Lane, whatever that may be, and looking back on some of the best memories in his life. I give this track a 5 out of 5. Summertime Nostalgic Vibes is kind of a weird song, to say the least. Nate pitches his vocals to sound lower over a synthy blues beat. However, the singing, which we sadly don't hear Nate doing much anymore, sing more Nate, definitely makes up for the weird and almost psychedelic vibes of the song, which was completely unexpected. I also love the message of the song. It sort of feels like a continuation of the message in Float, Nate reflecting on old times and feeling those summertime nostalgic vibes. However, the end of the song is the most memorable aspect about it. It gets way darker and more personal and raw, and the tone of it reminds me a lot of Puppet by Tyler the Creator. I give this track a 4.5 out of 5, which by the way is the lowest score on this album. 19 is a track that ultimately goes back to the roots of the review, whereas Nate is talking about his emotions and feelings towards someone over a blues jazz beat, and keeping a consistent and steady tone throughout the whole song. I give this song a 5 out of 5, mainly because of how well Nate does this type of sound and style again and again without making it sound boring or rusty. It's all up to you. Intro sounds like a lot like Find Your Parts off of Earth 708, which gave me some nostalgia. I'm sorry. That thing I did at the beginning. It gave me some nostalgia from my favorite work that Nate has ever put out. This is easily my favorite song off of Summer Lane for many reasons. The first is the fact that the song sounds so happy and upbeat, but it has super sad and honest lyrics. The best part is it doesn't feel contradictory at all. It feels like they belong together, and I love that. I also love the message behind the song. Nate is essentially telling someone that he wants to be loved back and that he wants the respect and care he deserves that he gives to her, but it's all up to her if she wants to give it to him and be with him, or leave him. This message is something I definitely relate to very strongly because I've been in that predicament before. If you're my close friend, you know who I'm talking about. I give this song a 5 out of 5. Temporary is a complete shift away from any of the sounds that were experimented with on this album. It features a really dark, trappy, and bassy beat that almost sounds like something off of MGK's Binge or a Suicide Boys album, but Nate still continues with his soft and mellow voice and flow, which feels very weird and contradictory on the song, but in a good way. I give this song a 5 out of 5 for how unexpected and different and dark it is. It's so edgy! If you thought Temporary was a unique and odd track, check out this last track, Oh My 45, which is a title that I still don't entirely understand, along with a song that I still don't entirely understand. But I like it because of that. It goes completely back to the happy-go-lucky tone of this album, and after listening to this, after listening to Temporary, I almost kind of forgot that I was listening to the same album. It felt like I was listening to something different, but that's not a bad thing at all. I mean, like I was saying before, the experimentation on this album is much more cohesive, and in a good way than in Argira. Okay, guys, what are my final thoughts on this album? To sum it up, this album is perfect to me, which is why it deserves the first spot on Rave Review. I give this new Nate the Space God project titled Floating on Summerland. Wait for it. A 10 out of 10! Thank you guys so much for watching my newest review. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? Bye.